Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Shayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadhati Shapadantika. Vidura has left the palace of Hastinapur and he's traveling. Pureshu punyo pavanadri kunjeshva pankato yeshu sarit sarasu anantalingai samalankriteshu chachara tirtaya taneshva nanyaha. That's text, well, it's 18. He began to travel alone, thinking only of Krishna, through various holy places like Ayodhya. What's going on with the sound today? Why is it doing this? Can you adjust it so it's done? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Okay. Is it going to stay like that? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram. Is this a doll you have to keep your finger on or something to make it work? Why is it like that? Hare Krishna, Now it's not working again. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Is this the same one we've been using every day? So why all of a sudden is it falling apart? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. It's the amplifier, not the microphone. Hare Krishna, Krishna. Is it a different microphone or the same microphone? Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Ram. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Can someone see to this wire by tomorrow? See that it's properly constituted. Okay. He began to travel alone, thinking only of Krishna, through various holy places like Ayodhya, Dwarka, and Mathura. He traveled where the air, hill, orchard, river, and lake are all pure and sinless, and where the forms of the unlimited decorate the temples. Thus he performed the pilgrim's progress. What kind of work are they doing out there that requires them to be so loud? You could do that. That's probably the easy, congenial way to deal with the matter. Just close the door. I have a choice. I can read or I can summarize. Maybe I'll summarize today instead of reading. These puras are mentioned in Nectar of Devotion, that the places of pilgrimage outside Vrindavan are called the puras. So Dwarka, Ayodhya, and so on. Prabhupada comments on Anantalinga. All of the forms of the Lord have unlimited potency, just as the Lord does himself, because they're non-different from the Lord. And Prabhupada gives the familiar example of the post box and the post office. Here, Apanka, all of these places were sinless places with hills and orchards and waters and rivers and lakes. These days, holy places have deteriorated or become overdeveloped in such a way that it's hard to find a quiet, peaceful atmosphere with lakes and trees and birds singing and all of that. But that's what Vidura found in the holy places. These days you can find, well, a lot more. That doesn't help. Because Vidura was visiting these places and seeing the deities, he could see nothing but Krishna in the different archa forms. And ultimately he was able to realize Krishna alone and nothing else. Gam paryatan meja vivikta vrittihi sada pluto ta shayano vidhutaha alakshita svar avadhuta vesho vratani chede haritoshanani. While so traversing the earth, he simply performed duties to please the Supreme Lord, Hari. His occupation was pure and independent, basically begging. He was constantly sanctified by taking his bath in holy places, although he was in the dress of a mendicant and had no hairdressing nor a bed on which to lie. Thus he was always unseen by his various relatives. So this is detached life, to leave home and not worry about where will I sleep, what will I wear, what will I eat, what about my relatives. Simply depending on Krishna and Haritoshanani, concerned with pleasing Krishna. That was his aim. The first and foremost duty of a pilgrim is to satisfy the Supreme Lord Hari. He shouldn't be worried about pleasing society. No need of social formalities regarding dress and so on. He remains always absorbed in the function of pleasing the Lord. And so he was able to realize the Lord. Any questions so far?
So you said this pure and independent occupation of was begging?
Yeah, that's, I think, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments that it means begging. But begging means you get, you don't get, but you're not, again, you're not drawing a paycheck, you're not checking into work, you're not doing some business schemes or some sort of endeavors and calculations. Whatever you get, whatever you pick up on the way, that's good enough.
So doesn't the beggar and the donor, they don't exchange karma? The beggar and the donor?
The beggar should not become dependent on the donor. That's a principle of renounced life. If you renounce and then attach yourself to some wealthy donor, then how are you renounced? The donor will say, Maharaj, could you do this? Maharaj, do you think it would be all right to do that? Maharaj, could you give me this? Could you do this for me? And you don't want to dissatisfy your donor. And so you become obliged. Yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. So it's not advised that a sannyasi or anyone in the renounced life become dependent on some big donor. Then his independence will be compromised. So begging means, just like Madhukari, a little bit here, a little bit there, what he gets as he goes along. Otherwise, if the sannyasi stuck, wow, well, this is a pretty good house. I think I'll stay here a little longer, like maybe 6 months or a year. And wow, the wife cooks pretty good. And the donor sure is generous. Then he loses it. He becomes, again, complacent, again, materially involved. Therefore, it's said about Sukadeva Goswami that he wouldn't stay at a householder's home longer than it took to milk a cow. He'd come in the morning, beg up a little milk, and off he went. That was the idea, not to become dependent for his livelihood or his comfort on a donor.
Pure and independent.
Pure and independent.
So the grains.
Just like the bee. The bee is not dependent on a particular flower. If this flower doesn't give me any nectar, I'll go to the next flower. Independent.
So calling it pure means there's no karma exchange, because the grains of the householder may have some karma.
He's pure because he's Harito Shanani. He's engaged in the service of the Lord, pleasing the Lord. So in that sense it's pure. He's not taking more than he requires, so in that sense also it's pure. Not for sense gratification. Jivasya tattva jigyasa. And it's according to regulative principles. Is that alright? Yeah.
In whole episode we see like
in the whole
episode of this Vidura and the last this incidents. So on the birth of Duryodhana, Vidura was trying to convince Dhritarashtra about this, that this is not good to raise the such type of child. And means like from long period he tried. So it seems like sometimes it's become like over endeavor also. Like, sometimes in spiritual life we feel, is there any word of over endeavor?
Yeah, there may be over endeavor. There's what's called beating your head against the wall, or beating a dead horse. So there may be over endeavor. One might, but Vidura, after all, it wasn't just his pleasure. He had a duty to Hastinapur. He had a duty to the family. So he was trying to execute that duty, but at a certain point, perhaps earlier he could have said, not worth it. But he was sticking to it. All right, let me try, despite all frustration and the non-receptivity of the people he was advising. Let me try. So Krishna arranged. We might speculate that Vidura might have stayed, but Krishna arranged for him to leave. And then Vidura was very happy. Yes, now I'm not in the association of these materialistic people. Oh, you can.
Sometimes during spiritual practices, like especially preaching or sometimes fundraising or Buddhist tuition, it seems like maybe sometimes over endeavor also. So where we can draw the borderline, like sometimes difficult to understand. Maybe sometime in a mood of compassion or maybe in a mood of passion. Like difficult to understand.
We have to see what are the orders of our superiors. That's the first thing. And sometimes you have to see that just like trying to persuade one person, you're not getting anywhere, Then you, by experience and by good judgment, you get to think, all right, enough, next person. Inexperienced preacher just tries like anything to convince this one person, and he never gives up. A more experienced person may say, all right, I've done my best, time to move on. And less experienced person also, he just thinks, I don't know if this is... He'll hardly make any endeavor. He's too timid to say anything. So both, therefore, it needs judgment and guidance and experience. Okay. Atyahar, prayas. Prayas means over-endeavor. But especially over-endeavor refers to materialistic life. Just like Madhavendra Puri, he traveled halfway across India to satisfy Gopal. For his own satisfaction, it was over-endeavor even to beg up food. He would just take whatever, if someone offered him, good. If someone didn't offer him, all right. Anything, any endeavor was over-endeavor for his own maintenance. But for the satisfaction of the Lord, he could travel through the jungles, he could travel halfway across the country. So the over-endeavor especially applies to materialistic, well, to eating, sleeping, mating, defending. Something else? Marsh.
I'm presently reading Srila Prabhupada, the last chapters, and we see Srila Prabhupada many times his body was sick, that many times he would not care about diet, that or even take a certain medicine. He would say, just chant Hare Krishna and that's my medicine. But the renunciants in our movement, should they endeavor to follow a diet, or to what extent should they follow Prabhupada?
Well, you have to see, of course, Prabhupada at the end. Otherwise, he had his diet, he had his regular time for eating, he had his regular program, but toward the end he thought, what's the use? Why bother? Lost cause. Why go through so much trouble to maintain a body which is not going to be maintained? The materialist is desperate. Anything. You know, they hear from the doctor that if you take this medicine or you undergo this operation, it could give you another 2 months. Oh, all right. What do I have to do? How do I get on the list? You know, $30,000, $60,000, but you get another 2 months. They're desperate. And Prabhupada criticized one of his godbrothers that he died in hospital, hooked up to tubes and wires and this and that. No, Prabhupada didn't want that. As if Krishna desires, I'll live. If Krishna desires, I'll die. Why should I go through so much trouble to maintain a machine which can't be maintained anymore? When it was functional, Prabhupada was attentive to it, somewhat. People would sometimes suggest some diet, and Prabhupada would say, oh, this is very good, very healthy. And then he would go with it for like 1 meal, or maybe 2. And then he would throw it out and say, back to, rice, dal, chapatis. He told me personally, or I heard him say personally, that this is healthy. Rice, dal, chapatis, some sabji, simple. Not that a healthy diet is all that complicated a thing. That you have to order something special from Fiji and something else special from Thailand and something else special from Argentina. Otherwise you can't live a healthy life. Rice, dal, chapatis, little sabji. That was Prabhupada's health diet. And he wasn't impressed by all these faddish, miraculous diets. Rice, dal, chapati, sabji. But at the end, it's like, what's the use? No appetite, no digestion, no desire, and the machinery is broken down. So what's the use? Why bother? Anything else? Ittam brajan bharatameva varsham kalena yavad gatavan prapasam tavat shashasa kshitameka chakram ekata patram ajitena partaha. Thus, when he was in the land of Bharatvarsha, traveling to all the places of pilgrimage, he visited Prabhas Kshetra. At that time, Maharaj Yudhishthira was the emperor and held the world under one military strength and one flag. Prabhupada comments that people are eager to have one world, one flag, but instead they're getting the United Nations with more flags flapping all the time. So Prabhupada said that for this they must seek the favor of Lord Krishna, who can alone help us become one worldwide nation. Any question? Tatrata shushava suhrid vinashtim manam yata venuja vani sangshrayam samspardhaya dagdham atanusho chan sarashatim pratyag iyaya tushnim. At the place of pilgrimage at Prabhas, it came to his knowledge that all his relatives had died due to violent passion. Just as an entire forest burns due to fire produced by the friction of bamboos. After this he proceeded west, where the river Saraswati flows. Purport: both the Kauravas and the Yadavas were relatives of Vidura, and Vidura heard of their extinction due to fratricidal war. So the Kauravas died in one fratricidal war, and the Yadavas in another. The comparison of the friction of forest bamboos to that of passionate human societies is appropriate. The whole world is compared to a forest. At any moment there may be a flare-up of fire in the forest due to friction. No one goes to the forest to set it on fire, but due only to friction between bamboos, fire takes place and burns an entire forest. Similarly, in the greater forest of worldly transaction, the fire of war takes place because of the violent passion of the conditioned souls, illusioned by the external energy. Such a worldly fire can be extinguished only by the water of the mercy cloud of saints, just as a forest fire can be extinguished only by rains falling from a cloud. Any question here? Tasyam tritasya shanasho manoscha pratora tagner asitasya vayo tirtam sudasasya Gavam guhasya yatstradha devasya saashisheve. On the bank of the river Saraswati, there were 11 places of pilgrimage, namely Trita, Ushana, Manu, Prithu, Agni, Asita, Vayu, Sudasa, Go, Guha, and Shraddhadeva. Vidura visited all of them and duly performed rituals. Anyani cheha dvijadeva devai kritani nanayatanani Vishnu pratyanga mukyankita mandirani yad darshanad Krishnam anusmaranti. There were also many other temples of various forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, established by great sages and demigods. These... Now what? Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. These temples were marked with the chief emblems of the Lord, and they reminded one always of the original personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. Prabhupada mentions the Varnashram Dharma. The sages were persons who completely devoted themselves to the spiritual upliftment of the entire human society, were known as Dvijadeva, the best among the twice born. And both the Devas and the Dvijadevas established temples for Vishnu in his various forms: Govinda, Madhusudan, Rishinga, Madhava, Keshava, Narayana, Padmanabh, Parthasarthi, and so on. All non-different. Of Lord Vishnu's 4 emblems, conch, wheel, club, lotus, the chakra or wheel is the chief. Lord Krishna, being the original Vishnu form, has only this one emblem, therefore he's sometimes called the Chakri. The Lord's chakra is the symbol of the power by which he controls the whole manifestation. And the tops of Vishnu temples are marked with this symbol so that people may have the chance to see it from a long distance and at once remember Lord Krishna. The temples are built high so that you can see them from a long distance. The foolish propaganda by atheists that temples were constructed only in later days is refuted here because Vidura visited them at least 5,000 years ago, and they were existing long before. The great sages and demigods never established statues of men or demigods. They didn't make statues of Sir Asutosh Mukherjee or this one or that one. They established temples of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Tatastvatit Vraja Surastram Riddham Sauvira Matsyan Kuru Jangalams Cha Kalena Tavad Yamunam Upecha Tatrodhavam Bhagvatam Dadarsha. Thereafter he passed through very wealthy provinces like Surat, Sauvira, and Matsya, and through western India, known as Kurujangala. At last he reached the bank of the Jamuna, where he happened to meet Uddhava, the great devotee of Lord Krishna. Prabhupada speaks of the sanctity of all these places, 100 square miles from Delhi to Mathura in UP. From the beginning of his appearance, the Lord was at Mathura in the house of his maternal uncle Kamsa. He was reared by his foster father Maharaj Nanda at Vrindavan. There are still many devotees of the Lord lingering there in ecstasy in search of Krishna and his childhood associates, the gopis. It is not that such devotees meet Krishna face to face in that tract of land, but a devotee's eagerly searching after Krishna is as good as his seeing him personally. How this is so cannot be explained, but it is factually realized by those who are pure devotees of the Lord. Philosophically, one can understand that Lord Krishna and his remembrance are on the absolute plane, and that the very idea of searching for him in Vrindavan, in pure God consciousness, gives more pleasure to the devotee than seeing him face to face. Such devotees see him face to face at every moment. Premanjanachurita bhakti vilochanena santa sadaiva hridayeshu vilokayanti yam sham sundaramachincha gunasurupam govindamadi purusham tamahang bhajami. Both Vidura and Uddhava were such elevated devotees, and therefore they both came to the bank of the Jamuna and met each other. So the Goswamis in Vrindavan, they never said, yes, I'm seeing Krishna. He's just there with gopis behind this bush. They were always feeling separation. Hey Radhe, hey Devi, Brajadevi Ke Chalalite, hey Nanda Shuno Kuta, Shri Govardhana Kopapada Patale, Kalindivani Kuta, Goshanta Vati Sarvato Brajapure, Kedar Mahabhuvalo, Bande Rupa Sanatano Raghuyago Shri Jiva Gopalako. They were in the ecstasy of feeling separation for Krishna and searching for Krishna. And in that way they were actually seeing Krishna or meeting Krishna, not by imagined ecstasy. Oh, I'm seeing Krishna. So we have to follow in the footsteps of the Goswamis. Uddhava is the most exalted devotee of the Lord. One can read about him in Brihad Bhagavatamrita. In the first half of Brihad Bhagavatam, it just won't stay, huh? You have to keep fiddling with it. All right. In the first half of Brihad Bhagavatamrita, Narada Muni is searching for the greatest devotee of the Lord. So he starts with goes from a king on earth up to heavenly planets. And at one point he comes to Uddhava, about whose glories he's heard. How intimately Uddhava is serving Krishna as his friend, as his advisor, as his messenger to the gopis, in so many ways. Hare Krishna. In so many ways, Uddhava is very intimately related with Krishna, even looks like Krishna. Some commentators say he's so absorbed in Krishna consciousness that he even looks like it. But in any case, he looked like Krishna, so much so that when the gopis saw him, they thought, is this Krishna? Then they said, no, it's not Krishna, but it must be coming from Krishna. He looks just like Krishna. So, a very exalted devotee, Uddhava. And by Krishna's arrangement, Uddhava and Vidura, both Mahabhagavatas, met by the bank of the Jamuna. Anything else so far?
In last verse, like Prabhupada mentioned about Varnashrama. So like wherever Varnashrama comes, like comes Swadharma. So person who is not coming across a spiritual master, a layman, how he can decide or he can understand what is his Swadharma? Normal common people.
How does an ordinary person without a spiritual master understand his Swadharma? He may not, because he doesn't have proper guidance. So he may not understand his Swadharma. He generally, in the mode of passion and ignorance, all they understand is work. Dharma and work are two different things. Prabhupada translates dharma as prescribed duty. Prescribed duty is different from just work. Work is something else again. Of course, if I'm working, then the boss prescribes my duties. Then my prescribed duty is do this, do that. And in Kali Yuga, everything's messed up, so people are not properly engaged in Swadharma. They're just engaged in work, pious work, sinful work, mostly sinful. By family tradition, one may get some idea what he's supposed to do. That also is falling apart. Therefore, in Kali Yuga, everyone is mostly engaged in the business of Shudras, working hard and collecting a paycheck. Something else? And so many foolish ideas are there about what people are supposed to do. So they get manda sumanda matayo. If we're not properly guided, there's a large chance we'll be improperly guided. Without the guidance of the spiritual master, we're easily subject to guidance from fools.
Since things are very mixed up,
Hmm?
and we're not always in an ideal situation in terms of, in living, is it really that important? Varna.
Is Varna really that important since things are so messed up? Prabhupada seems to think it is. That's why he raises it again and again, that one should act in a particular position of Varna and ashram. Even now, ashram's not so important, Does it matter whether I'm married or not married? Whether, I'm living with a girl, but do we need to be married? There's no, forget Varna, even ashram is like lost. People have no idea what stage of life there is on in either vertical or horizontal. In terms of their occupation, they do whatever comes or whatever suits their sense gratification. And the same thing for ashram. They just, they're supposed students. The students are not living according to the regulative life of students. They're just doing something else, mostly sense gratification. Married life is no longer a matter of prescribed duty, it's a matter of convenience. What is that in Dampatya? Ratimevahi. In Kali Yuga, the husband and wife business is just who's attracted to who according to sex. And then when sex is no longer so pleasing, then they break up and look for some other partners. Dampatya ratimevahi. So that's not married life, that's animal life. Varnashram is meant to bring one to the position. Dharma means responsibility. That's another translation of dharma. My duty. Duty means responsibility. I may or may not like my responsibility, but it's my responsibility, it's my duty. Now, I try out marriage for a while, and if I don't like it, I go on to the next program. But actually it's a duty. One of my friends in Bombay, when he and his wife got married, his mother-in-law told the daughter that now we're bringing you to this house and you'll stay in this house until they carry you out on a stretcher. Wasn't ambiguous about what your prescribed duty is. You were staying with us, now we're moving you over here and you stay here. No flitting about and trying this, trying that. unambiguous. This is your duty. And for the husband, equally clear that your duty is to take care of the wife, provide for the wife and family and so on. And the wife may be very pleasing or not so pleasing. This is your duty. So that responsibility is there. And then at a certain time, it may be pleasing or not pleasing, but you have to get out in the mature stage. That's also there. So now, because of the absence of varnashram, basically you get animal life. The monkey doesn't care about varnashram. If there's a banana, he runs after it. If there's a female monkey, he runs after it. Whatever. He doesn't think about responsibilities, prescribed duty. So when the human beings reach that stage, then they're on the level of dogs and monkeys, just doing whatever their senses tell them. So the varnashram is meant to be in place so that people have a responsible structure to their life. And that so that the society also has a responsible structure. Things in proper order. When things are disordered, then the whole society becomes topsy-turvy. In Ecclesiastes in the Bible, the author is lamenting, I saw princes, servants riding on horses and princes walking on the ground. It means everything was screwed up, topsy-turvy. So that topsy-turvy life is not conducive to progressive advancement materially or spiritually. And therefore Prabhupada is recommending varnashram. Ultimately, the real thing is to be engaged in Krishna service. That's beyond varnashram. But Prabhupada said, if they're transcendental, why are they falling down? About his own students. If they're on that transcendental platform, why are they falling down? Therefore, he wanted to see them situated in proper duties, according to the varnashram system, as far as possible. Is that okay?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Sometimes for service we have to deal with Mandasumandamatayo people every day, like we have to be with them, and we can't tell so much because we are working on the same level as them. So how to remain unaffected in that situation, and when coming back from that environment, then coming back to our original mood.
First thing, as far as possible, we should avoid having to work with the Manda Sumanda Matayo. Next thing is, if we have to associate with them, it should only be formal, as much as necessary to get the job done. You know the story about the monkey and the alligator? Prabhupada told from Hitopadesh that there was a monkey, he was traveling, he wanted to get across the stream. So the alligator said, you can hop on my back and I'll take you across. So the monkey said, okay, he jumped on. Alligator started moving, and when they got out into the middle of the river, then the alligator started to submerge and said, now I'm going to kill you and eat your heart along with my family members. We're going to have a love feast. So the monkey said, you should have told me. Then why didn't you tell me? Before I got on, you could have told me. Because the problem is that I left my heart at home. But it's not too late. You can take me back to the shore and I'll go get my heart and then we can carry on. The alligator thought, well, that makes sense. So he brought the monkey back to the shore, and the monkey hopped off. Haribol. So when you go out with the alligators, leave your heart at home. Is that all right? We have 2 minutes more, yes.
Thank you, Maharaj, for wonderful explanation. Maharaj, last purport was said that when a person is searching for Krishna, it is equivalent to seeing him.
Searching for Krishna is equal to seeing him, yes.
And Your Holiness gave the example of 6 Goswamis. Your Holiness gave the example of
The 6 Goswamis, yes.
So, like here we are talking about, I was clarifying that here we are talking about serving in separation. It is like equivalent to seeing Krishna. Like
Yes. If we're serving Krishna in separation, separation is equal to meeting, or greater. The gopis in separation from Krishna were seeing Krishna everywhere. They were, we see when we meet, we're not so, okay, he's here. But when you lose someone's association, then you become practically mad. So the gopis became like that. When Krishna left Vrindavan, or Krishna left the rasa dance, they were all mad. Where's Krishna? Where's Krishna? Where's Krishna? So in that intense search for Krishna, they were more intimately associated with Krishna and more in ecstasy than when they were with Krishna. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was teaching that mood. Is that okay?
This means constant thinking because of separation makes us always interested in Krishna.
Yes.
Because of that they are able to see.
Yeah, not just separation. That if you now you're in the temple, but if you leave the temple and forget all about Krishna, then somehow you're more Krishna conscious. Not like that. It's not that if you're separated from the devotees and separated from Krishna, and you think, well, that was nice anyway, then somehow or other you're on a higher level. Not like that. But if by circumstance somehow you're separated and then you're thinking, I wonder what's going on with the devotees and what about the deities, and you're always thinking about the devotees, then that's as good as being there practically, because you're absorbed even while you're out. Otherwise everyone's separated from Krishna and they don't care. All these people in the world, they're separated from Krishna, and that's fine. They couldn't care less. So that kind of separation doesn't help us. But the separation in which we're searching for Krishna, or searching for Krishna, that becomes intense ecstasy. Okay. All right, we can stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, all glories to Srimad.